Imagine for a moment that your life is a room full of doors. Behind botsy doors, there are people, opportunities, relationships, jobs. And in that room, you stand there, hoping that someone will choose your door. You wait for a message, a call, a compliment, an invitation. If they knock, you feel valuable. If they don't, you feel invisible. Now, let me ask you something very direct. Do you live as an option in somebody else's life, or as a luxury? Being an option means this. You are available when they need you, convenient when it suits them, and forgotten when their attention moves somewhere else. You're nice to have, but not essential. You're the backup plan, the second choice, the maybe later. Being a luxury is something completely different. A luxury is not about price, brand, or social status. A luxury is something rare, deeply valued, not easily replaced. A luxury doesn't beg to be chosen. It exists in its own worth. A diamond doesn't shout to be seen. It simply shines, and eyes naturally turn toward it. In your life, the real question is not, who will pick me? The real question is, who am I being? Am I showing up as a desperate option, or as a grounded, irreplaceable presence? In this video, I want to guide you through a deep inner shift, moving from living as an option to becoming a luxury in the psychological and spiritual sense. Not luxury as in materialism, but luxury as an inner value. Your self-respect, your authenticity, your presence. We'll walk through 5 transformation keys that help you stop negotiating your worth and start embodying it. As you listen, I invite you not just to understand these ideas with your mind, but to feel them in your body, in your history, in your relationships. Because at some point on every soul's journey, there comes a moment when being chosen is no longer enough. You need to be respected. Let's begin. First, we have to talk about who you really are beneath roles, masks, and expectations. This is where the first key comes in, embodying your archetype. Deep inside you, there's a core identity, a kind of inner pattern that has been with you since before you can remember. It's not your job title, not your relationship status, not the persona you use in social media or at family gatherings. It is something much older and much deeper. It is made of stories, symbols, emotions, dreams, and longings. Maybe you grew up being told who you needed to be. The responsible one, the quiet one, the strong one, the pretty one, the successful one. Maybe your family's expectations, your culture's rules, or your friends' opinions defined your life so much that you slowly forgot to ask the most important question of all. Who am I really? Not, who do they want me to be? Not, who do they admire? But, when nobody is watching, which version of me appears? Ask yourself right now, when I'm truly relaxed and not performing, who shows up? When do I feel most alive, most real, most myself? These are not small questions. They are doorways to your archetype. An archetype is like a symbolic identity. It's the lover, the warrior, the sage, the creator, the healer, the sovereign. We don't choose an archetype like we choose clothes. We discover it. It's the pattern that was always there underneath everything. If your inner archetype is the lover, your gift is deep connection, intimacy, beauty, emotion. If your archetype is the warrior, your nature is courage, commitment, protection, and cutting through what is false. If you are the sage, you're drawn to knowledge, understanding, and teaching. If you're the sovereign, you naturally organize, guide, and lead. When you live against your archetype, you feel invisible or wrong. You may find yourself thinking, why doesn't anyone really see me? Why do I always feel out of place? But how can they see you if you are busy acting out someone else's script? This is the first key. To become a luxury, you must stop being a copy. You must inhabit your true archetype fully. That means allowing the real you to become visible, even if your environment resists. And it often will resist. When you start changing, some people will feel threatened. They will say things like, "You've changed. You're too much now. Why are you suddenly setting boundaries? You used to be so nice." What they really mean is, "You are no longer convenient for my comfort." This is where you choose. Will you shrink to keep their approval, or will you stand tall in your own energy? When you own your archetype, your energy changes. People may not be able to explain it, but they feel it. Your presence becomes clearer, your boundaries stronger, your aura more defined. You're no longer a blurry shape in a background. You become a distinct figure in the room. And here's the truth. Clarity is attractive. Unclear people become options. Clear people become reference points. So, pause and ask yourself, which archetype has always whispered inside me? Where have I been pretending to be something else just to fit in? Now, once you begin to embody who you really are, the second key becomes essential: the art of psychological distance. Human nature has a strange habit. We tend to devalue what is always available and overvalue what feels scarce. When something or someone is constantly accessible, constantly saying yes, always ready, always forgiving, always waiting, our mind starts to treat that as normal and then as less special. Think about it. If you always answer someone's messages immediately, always adjust your schedule around theirs, always accept last-minute plans, always understand, always forgive, always show up even when they wouldn't do the same for you, what message are you sending? You're not just saying, "I care." You may also be saying, "My time, my energy, my emotions are cheap. You don't have to do much to have access to me." This isn't about playing games. This is not hard-to-get manipulation. This is about self-respect and energetic boundaries. Psychological distance means understanding that your presence is a privilege, not a default. It means that not everyone gets the same level of access to your time, your body, your mind, your heart. Being emotionally available is beautiful, but being endlessly available to people who don't respect you is self-betrayal. Ask yourself, am I always the one who adjusts? Am I always the one who waits? Am I always the one who apologizes first, even when I'm not wrong? Am I always the one who makes it easy for them, while they make it hard for me? Living as a luxury means, I won't let you place me on a discount shelf. I can love you deeply, but I will not accept being treated casually. Psychological distance is not the absence of love. It's the absence of self-neglect. It sounds like this in practice. I care about you, but I won't respond at 3 a.m. to someone who disappears for days. I value this friendship, but if you keep canceling last minute, I'll stop making plans. I respect you, but I also respect my time, my energy, and my peace. You're not a 24/7 emotional convenience store. You're a human being with limits. When you protect your energy, something interesting happens. People either step up or fall away. And yes, that can hurt. But ask yourself, is losing those who only wanted you as an option truly a loss? Or is it space being cleared for people who see you as a luxury? The third key flows naturally from this, growing your inner richness. You cannot be a psychological or spiritual luxury if your whole identity depends on other people's attention. If your self-esteem rises and falls with messages, likes, compliments, or validation, then your sense of worth is constantly on sale. Real luxury is built from the inside out. Think of people you love being around. Not because they're famous or rich, but because their presence makes you feel calm, inspired, understood, or challenged in a good way. There's something about their energy. They listen deeply. They speak with intention. They carry a kind of quiet depth. That is inner richness. It's not just intelligence. It's emotional maturity, self-knowledge, empathy, resilience, and spiritual grounding. It's the result of someone who has spent time with their own soul. How do you build that kind of richness? You read, you think, you reflect on your past, not as a victim, but as an investigator trying to understand patterns. You ask yourself why you attract certain dynamics again and again. You become curious about your wounds, your fears, your triggers. You might go to therapy or journal late at night or take long walks alone without your phone just to hear the sound of your own thoughts again. You explore art, music, philosophy, psychology, spirituality. You study yourself as if your soul were a universe worth knowing. The more you understand yourself, the less desperate you become for others to define you. You start to become an experience, not just a person. People feel something when they are around you, a mix of safety and mystery, depth and warmth. They sense that you don't need to impress them because your life has meaning with or without their approval. That is luxury. And remember, this has nothing to do with money. You can have very little materially and still be incredibly rich in spirit, in wisdom, in presence. At the same time, you can have all the external symbols of wealth and still be emotionally poor, needy, and empty. Ask yourself, what am I feeding my mind with day after day? Do my habits make me deeper or more shallow? Do I know how to sit with my own feelings without escaping all the time? To be a luxury is to be someone whose presence brings more than just entertainment. It brings meaning. Now let's move to the fourth key, the elegance of your language. The way you speak reveals how you see yourself. Your words carry your internal posture. People who don't believe in their own worth often talk in ways that give away their power, apologizing for taking up space, over-explaining their decisions, begging to be understood, defending themselves constantly. People who embody inner luxury don't need to shout or convince. Their language is calm, clear, and grounded. They know that not everyone will agree with them, and that's okay. Their goal is not to be liked by everyone. Their goal is to live in alignment with who they are. Notice the difference between these phrases. I'm sorry. I know I'm being difficult. I don't know if it's okay to ask. Versus, I understand this might be inconvenient, but this is what I need in order to feel comfortable. Or, please don't be mad at me, but I can't. I'm really tired. I hope you don't hate me. Versus, this doesn't work for me tonight. Let's find another time that respects both of us. Or even, I could never do that. I'm not good enough. Versus, that doesn't feel aligned with who I am or where I'm going. The content might be similar, but the inner posture is completely different. A person who is a luxury knows how to say no without drama and yes without self-betrayal. They don't need to raise their voice. They don't need to perform strength. Their strength is in their clarity. And just as important as what you say is what you don't say. You don't need to comment on everything. You don't need to answer every provocation. You don't need to explain your entire history to someone who has already decided to misunderstand you. Silence can be one of the most luxurious responses you have. When you stop chasing validation through words, you give your language more weight. People know that when you speak, you mean it. You become someone whose yes and no are trustworthy. Ask yourself, does my way of speaking uplift or diminish me? Do I talk like someone begging for space, or like someone who already belongs here? And now we arrive at the fifth key, aesthetic and symbolic harmony. Whether we like it or not, human beings read symbols all the time, often unconsciously. The clothes you wear, the way you carry your body, your living space, your digital presence, these all send messages about how you see yourself. This is not about perfection or expensive brands. This is about coherence. If your inner world is sensitive, deep, thoughtful, but your outer world is chaotic, neglected, completely disconnected from who you are, then there's a split. And that split weakens your sense of value. To become a luxury in your own life, you begin to align your environment with your essence. Maybe that means cleaning your room, not as a task, but as a ritual of respect for your own mind. Maybe it means choosing clothes that make you feel like you, not just whatever will attract the most attention. Maybe it means editing your online presence so it reflects what you genuinely care about, instead of random trends. Think of your life as a kind of artwork. The colors, shapes, and symbols around you either support your soul or drain it. A luxury experience is rarely loud and messy. It tends to be intentional, deliberate, thoughtful. There's space to breathe, to notice, to feel. In your own life, ask, does my environment honor me or exhaust me? Do my belongings tell the story of who I am becoming or of who I was when I didn't know my worth? You don't need to buy anything fancy. Often, the first step is not adding, but removing, letting go of objects, styles, or digital habits that are in conflict with your truth. Imagine someone walking into your room, or scrolling through your profile, or spending an evening in your presence. What story do they receive? More importantly, what story do you receive every day from the world you've created around you? When your inner world and outer world begin to match, you stop living as a brand and start living as a frequency. People feel you. They sense your consistency. There is something quiet but unmistakable about you. And that is what a luxury really is. Not noise, not exaggeration, but a rare, coherent energy. As we come toward the end of this journey, I want to leave you with a central truth. You were not born to spend your life auditioning for roles in other people's stories. You were not born to be the almost, the maybe, the second choice, the if nothing better shows up. You're not here just to be chosen. You are here to be value. That means you discover and embody your true archetype instead of living as a mask. You create healthy psychological distance instead of letting yourself be used. You grow your inner richness so your presence itself becomes meaningful. You refine your language so your words reflect your self-respect. You align your aesthetics and symbols with your inner truth so your life feels like you. This is not about arrogance. This is not about thinking you're better than others. True luxury is never about superiority. It's about self-honoring. It might mean losing some people along the way. Options often scare those who are used to discounts. But remember, anyone who needs you to be small in order to stay will never be able to love the fullness of who you are. So, I ask you as you sit here listening, where in your life have you been living as an option? In which relationships, in which habits, in which patterns have you been putting yourself on the clearance rack of your own soul? And now, can you imagine a different posture? Imagine waking up tomorrow and silently affirming, I'm not an option. I'm a luxury. Not because I'm perfect, not because I'm above anyone, but because I am rare, because I am honest, because I am willing to know myself, protect myself, and live as my true self. From this day forward, every boundary you set, every truth you speak, every book you read, every moment you take to care for your body, your mind, and your space. Each one is a brick in the foundation of your new identity. You stop chasing doors that never truly open for you. You stop begging to be seen by eyes that refuse to look. You turn inward, meet yourself, and then walk into the world as someone whose value is not up for negotiation. You didn't come here to be tolerated. You came here to be cherished, first by yourself, and then by those who are capable of meeting you at that level. So, as we close, let this be your inner shift. I'm not a temporary role in someone else's story. I'm not a backup plan. I'm not a half choice. I am a whole universe of experiences, depth, and meaning. I'm not an option. I am a luxury.